Hopeless, helpless, worthless. Those are just a few of the things that I used to feel and think about myself almost every single day until August 28th of 2017. That's when I changed my life and I began my journey of sobriety and getting healthy, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, financially. That's when I decided to make some changes and rebuild my life. This isn't about me. I want to do this for you and anybody who might be struggling right now. And it's okay. And there's not a lot of places to go. And I remember when I was at my low, I was desperate for information. And I just felt like no matter who I talked to or who I asked, nobody really understood me or understood where I was coming from. And I got a lot of information from people that were educated. They had the degrees, they have the knowledge, but they didn't have the experience. They didn't go through what I went through. So how could they possibly understand how I was feeling or what I was thinking or, what I was dealing with? Now, like a lot of people, I had a busy life and on the outside it looked good, and family and kids and business and cars and money and homes. Like all of that stuff was there, but there was just something missing on the inside. There was an emptiness, a shallowness, an insecurity, and I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Everybody has something. And in my case, when I turned to a substance, it was slowly over a period of time. I became a stress drinker. It started out in business, client dinners and lunches and happy hours, and then slowly it turns to stress. And then one thing leads to another. You wake up one day and you can't go without it. I was never a partier or anything like that. But that's how it snuck up on me. And I was in denial for a long time. I tried different things and, I can stop, all of that. So I've tried to get hypnotized and just quitting cold turkey, and I tried, in and out, just try to go to some casual meetings. It didn't work. So I had to take my path and get professional help and counseling and took some medication, nothing inpatient or anything like that, but that's what worked for me. And I can share more of that on a one-on-one if somebody wants to reach out, or maybe I'll do something else about that to try to help you. But what I wanted to talk about was, what did it take for me to get to that path? How did I figure out which way to go? And then what did I do when I decided to move on? And you hear all the cliches and you hear the things people say of like, well, if you think you have a problem, you do, which that is true, by the way. Well, just stop, just quit. Do it for yourself, do it for your health, do it for your kids. Oh, just put it behind you and move on. If it were truly that easy, nobody would have problems, nobody would have struggles, right? Nobody would have the pain and difficulties of life that we deal with. And there is a psychological aspect to it. And the older I get and the more I read, the more I study, the more I've become fascinated with it, because there is a certain amount of it that we just cannot control. There is a certain amount of it that is just chemical, neurological in the body. It's no different than when somebody has to take blood pressure medication or cholesterol medication or vitamin supplements, anything from a maintenance standpoint. Well, the brain, the human mind, is one of the most complex things known to exist in the universe, yet people expect it to function on a perfect level every day, day in, day out. Well, sometimes it could be off a little bit and maybe it needs a little bit of tweaking. But it's no different like in your car. If you have 6 spark plugs in your car and one of them isn't firing right, well, the car's still going to operate on 5 and it's still going to get you where you need to go, but it's going to act up, it might break down, it might stop, it might go faster, you just don't know. So it might need a little bit of a tune-up. Well, we as humans, we're no different, especially when it comes from a mental standpoint. And when we have that, where we can't, we don't feel good. We don't feel like we're accomplishing anything. We don't feel like we're getting any better at anything. So we constantly have this feeling of doubt and emptiness and sadness. And we feel like a failure. Like I felt like a failure because I felt like I should have been further along in life or had more, experienced more. And I came to realize that it wasn't true, because I was looking for outward things to fill internal voids. And that's really one of the common themes you'll find with anybody suffering with an addiction. Now, that doesn't just mean alcohol or drugs. It could be tobacco, cigarettes, it could be TV, it could be any self-destructive or inappropriate behavior. It will manifest itself in something in some way. So, addictive behaviors and personalities aren't just with the taboo things of, say, alcohol and drugs. It could be too much food or anything. And the sooner we get to realize that no matter how much of it we consume, it doesn't actually make us feel any better, and it doesn't make the pain go away. It might numb you for the time being, but how many times, honestly, even if you haven't struggled with an addiction, answer this question. How many times did you actually go out, maybe on a Friday, Saturday, whatever, and you drink too much and you wake up the next morning and you're hungover and you feel horrible, and what do you say? I'm never gonna do that again. So maybe you go a week or two and then guess what? You do it again. So it's the same thing. It's just when you're suffering from an addiction, and a lot of that was fueled by depression or anxiety or frustrations, well, those dopamine hits, they start to last less and less, so you need it more and more frequently, hence addiction. And then it's not even about trying to get the dopamine or to get the buzz or to get the rush. It's about to not lose it, because now you're just functioning at a higher level. And that is one of the biggest things that I don't think people understand about people that suffer with addictions of any kind. And even if you take it from an overeating standpoint, you're looking to feel good. Maybe somebody's got that sweet tooth, and then, well, maybe like I can eat something maybe once a week as a dessert. Well, other people, they need that sugar, so it might be every day, but then it might reflect in their weight. For me, I got my fix, my sugar, my numbness through alcohol. But that affected a lot of things in my life, just beyond my physical appearance. It affected my health, my performance, my job, my relationships, my friendships. Totally destroyed my life. And if anything I'm trying to do with this is to get people to understand that if it's happening to you, it's okay. And you're not gonna solve it all at once. You're not gonna fix it all at once. And no matter how bad you think you are, no matter how far gone you think you are, no matter how bad you have screwed up, you can fix it. You can get out of it. Yeah, you might have to take some lumps. Yeah, it might be difficult. Yeah, you might struggle. And maybe that's something that we have to do to kind of maybe pay a little bit for what we did do. And I'm not saying we have to pay because it's a punishment. We're free to choose whatever we want to choose, but we also have to accept the consequences of the decisions that we made. I had to do that, and unfortunately, and I hate to say it, but in the long run, you'll be glad you have to do it too, because if you earn it, you appreciate it. And if something's handed to you, or if it's just fixed, then you won't appreciate it, and chances are it's not going to last and give you the change that you're looking for. So if you think you're falling into that camp, the first thing you need to do is have an honest conversation with yourself, and you have to decide, do you have a problem? Do you have a problem in any area that needs to be addressed? And a lot of times people say the easiest or the first thing you have to do is admit that you have a problem. It's not true. Huge mistake. You don't have to admit you have a problem. You have to accept the fact that you have a problem. You have to look yourself in the mirror and accept the fact, Evan, I screwed up. Evan, I have a problem. Evan, I became an alcoholic. Evan, I destroyed relationships. Evan, you destroyed your business. Evan, you destroyed your health. Evan, you probably destroyed some of your reputation. All of that. You have to own it. It's the hardest thing I ever did. In fact, I sat in the chair right across from me one day, and I had a tear in my eye, and I was contemplating things that I never thought, because I didn't see any hope. I couldn't see anything. And then I had my own experience, and I decided, you know what? I got myself here, I can get myself out. I sought the help that I needed, and I started brick by brick putting my life back together, and I'm almost 4 years, and my life, my health, my business are better than they've ever been. Mending relationships, friendships. My point is, 4 years ago, I couldn't even daydream about the life that I have right now. So when I talk to people, they look at me, they see this part of healthy, attentive, have my success back and experiencing life and living life and, maybe jumping out of airplanes or traveling or things like that. And I'm living life the way I want to now because I appreciate it each and every day, because I realize how much of it that I lost and how much of it I wasted. And some of the stupid decisions that I made, that there's a chance, maybe I shouldn't even be here. I drove when I shouldn't have. And so I know I did a lot of things that I shouldn't have. So, I'm committed to living my life to the fullest every day. And as part of that is I want to help those that are struggling to do the same. So I have a lot to say all the time, and I try to get concise messages, but I tend to go off on some tangents because I just feel it all ties together, right? So if you can get to the point, and you don't have to be public about it, but just to yourself, you know what? I've been lazy. I procrastinate. Yes, I'm feeling depressed, or I have anxiety. But you can usually figure out what the core is. Now that doesn't mean you might not need some professional help or medication or some therapy. And I'm a proponent for all of it because I've done all of that. I still have a weekly therapist, and I did get monthly shots for 21 months to help me get sober. And I did become a gym rat for a while, and I had an obsessive morning routine. And now all of that has changed because I did what I had to do back then. And now that's not what I need to do now. So now I do different things, and you have to be nimble and adapt as time goes on to make sure that you keep growing and developing as a person. So if you can get to that point where you can accept the fact, like, yeah, you know what, I'm not doing what I should, I'm not living the way I'm supposed to, and accept it, like, you know what, it's okay because I want to change and I know I can change, but maybe you just don't know what to change. So that is your first step, is accepting whatever your reality is. And the mountain might seem huge. It might seem like you're never going to get over it. But I'm here to tell you, if you want to, you will, and you can. And I'm not telling you it's going to be easy. I'm telling you, you have to be determined. You have to be willing to be honest with yourself. And you also have to be willing to hear the feedback and possible criticism from other people. You have to be willing to fail. Like, not everything you're going to do is going to work. And one of the worst things anybody can do, whether it's depression, anxiety, productivity, procrastination, addiction, bad relationships, is trying to do too much too fast. Worst thing you can do. You identify things. In my last video, which you can look, about procrastination, I said your life should be broken up into 4, potentially a 5th bucket. You have your health, your family, your relationships, your finances, and then maybe your pet projects or things that you want to work on. Every day you got to put just a little bit of water in each of those buckets. And if you can, you try to pick the most important thing that you can do each day in those buckets, no matter how big or small, but what can you do today that's going to help fill up that bucket? And some days you might try and you don't do it. But if you keep trying enough every day, you'll get there. It's like I use a football analogy. Some plays you might go 10, 20, 30, 40 yards downfield. You might hit that Hail Mary and get a touchdown. The next play, you might take a 10-yard loss. But in the end, it's about getting the net gains and just making the progress. See, we make a huge mistake by saying the game of life. And although you could say life is a game, but we compare it to things like sports. Now, those are finite games, basketball, baseball, football, even board games. Well, they're finite. They have a beginning, a middle, and an end. Life, just like your health, business, relationships, you can approach them as a game, but they're infinite games. There is no end to those games. So it's a constant movement forward. But you have to realize that sometimes you're going to go backwards. So if you say that there's an end goal in business, maybe it's a dollar amount, or there's an end goal in a relationship, hey, we're going to retire here. What happens when you get there? What are you going to do? Because you're going to realize hitting that goal isn't going to give you the fulfillment that you thought it was 20 years ago when you said, hey, this is our goal when we retire. So life, business, relationship, money, those are infinite games. What is your next move? What is your next step? Well, before you do that, you have to take your first step, and that's accept your reality and identify where it is. Once you do that, then you can admit to people like, hey, you know what? I have this problem. Or, hey, I know I've been this way and I'm sorry. I'm sorry for the mistakes I made. Give me an opportunity to make it right, and then you can yell at me later. And then from there, you move forward. And then you think about, what do you want your life to look like? You have to design that in your mind. What do I want my life to look like? And then you draw out the plan, you map it out, then you execute, and it's just steps. But you start by accepting your reality, then you can admit it to some people, and then you start to figure out, what do I want my life to look like moving forward? And then baby steps. Think of the buckets: life, health, family, finances, and pet projects. So You might be struggling. You might feel like you're in a hole. You might feel like there's no hope. You might say, Evan, I struggled to just get out of bed today. And I've been there. I still have those days, and that's okay. Because there's days I want to run through the wall, and there's days I don't want to get out of bed, and you probably have the same, and that's okay. You're human. We all have ups and downs, and yet we put this expectation on ourselves that we have to be and do and perform in ways it's just unreasonable. We set ourselves up for failure and disappointment and with unrealistic expectations, and that's just not healthy, and that usually feeds the cycle into the self-destructive behaviors, and which manifests in depression, anxiety, procrastination, addiction, and so on. So you're allowed to have good days, you're allowed to have bad days. And the beauty of life is, this infinite game of life is, every day, every new day is a new opportunity to start over again. Every day is a new opportunity to try again. And every new day is the opportunity to leave the past behind you. The only thing you have is the present moment that you're in. Yesterday's gone, tomorrow's not promised. What are you doing with today? So stop trying to climb the entire mountain. Focus on today, and focus on what's that first step that you can take. Because you have it within you. You have more support around you than you could possibly imagine. But somehow we get this in our mind that nobody understands us, nobody supports us, nobody's ever been in the position that we've been in before, which is simply not true. And somebody said something to me one time, and it was right before I made my decision to change. And actually more than one person said this to me. And someone said to me, Evan, I love you. I just don't like you right now. And when you think about it, we've all had that feeling about somebody else in our life. You love them as a person, but you just don't enjoy their company, how they're treating you, how they're acting. But you would be there to help them, but you're not going to go out of your way to be there with them. And one of the best blessings that I've had is because of stress, because of my drinking and business, I had a business relationship with a friend that I destroyed it. You know, I wasn't me, and I was me, but I wasn't me. And I destroyed this relationship, and we went a couple years and we didn't talk. And we reconnected a while ago, and you know, one of the greatest gifts that I've gotten through all this is, he said, hey, listen, I understand what you went through. I forgive you. As far as I'm concerned, clean slate. You know, I miss my friend. I want to move forward. And he has no idea what that means to me. It's probably one of the best gifts and rewards that I've had in this whole process, because it shows how forgiving and supportive people are. And it also shows how much that we do hurt and disappoint other people, and yet they're still willing to put up with it. So if other people are willing to put up with our stuff, you can put up with your stuff. So I hope that this finds you well. And I hope that if this is speaking to you and you're at that point where you feel like you need some help, you're not sure what to do, reach out to those around you. Don't try to solve everything at once. You just think of, what can I do today? And know that there's support out there, there's people out there. Leave a comment, you can send me a message. I'll share any information that I have. And just remember, each new day is a new opportunity, so make sure you take advantage of it.